You're listening to Fantasia The Talkshow. This is a YouTube exclusive. I'm with the director of Blood and Flesh, the real life and ghastly death of Adamson, David Gregory. Thank you for being with us. You're the director of this movie. So it's a documentary about the life of a producer, actor, and screenwriter whose name was Adamson, who grisly death put an end to amazing career that mostly people don't know about. How did you find out about this guy?
Well, actually, I saw Dracula versus Frankenstein when I was about 9 years old.
That's your introduction?
Absolutely.
Wow.
And it really impressed me, but I was 9 years old, so, things like, monsters fighting each other and stuff like that, it didn't bother me that there was, the films were a little rough around the edges.
Yes.
But, he's been on my radar ever since, and I remember when I found out that he'd been murdered and they'd been found buried underneath his floorboards, or under concrete, as the case may be. But I run a label called Severin Films, and I was in touch with the producer, and I wanted to get Dracula versus Frankenstein, because I still enjoy Dracula versus Frankenstein.
Even today?
Even today. And you should have seen how it played last night. It was so much fun. And also a movie you made called Satan's Sadist, which is a genuinely good biker movie. With
the star of
Russ Tamblyn.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, who's known now for Twin Peaks as Dr. Jacoby. So I licensed them, and then I just started looking into his career. And any documentaries and stuff that's been written up about him, they tend to concentrate more on the death part, the sensational way he died. Horror movie director was found buried underneath his jacuzzi. But there's so much more to his life and career than that. So I've done a lot of documentaries about, B-movie filmmaking, low-budget movie filmmaking, genre movie filmmaking. So I thought this was a good one for an actual feature documentary.
That's what I like about the documentary. It's a celebration of his life. It's not about his death. Even his death is a small part of the movie.
Yeah.
Was it intended from the start?
Absolutely, yes, because like I say, there's been a couple of American TV shows and a Canadian TV show which really just concentrate on the death and how they found the murderer. And for me, I love stories about the trenches of low-budget filmmaking. And once I started meeting these people, they're incredible people who came into Al's orbit.
With amazing stories. They have so many stories.
Yes, but like Vilmos Zsigmond, the Oscar-winning cinematographer of Close Encounters and The Deer Hunter and stuff like that. He started with Al Adamson, and he's in the documentary. He's passed away since, but getting him to talk about it, and Bud Cardos and Gary Kent and Russ Tamblyn, who we already mentioned. So many of these people just, they just went out there and they went to make a movie, not really considering how good it might or bad it might turn out, but they did their absolute best to make it something.
For the people at home, let's talk about what kind of movie was he doing? Like exploitative film?
Yes, all exploitation films. So he did westerns, horror movies, biker movies, blaxploitation. He even did a children's movie at the end of his career, but definitely falls into the realm of exploitation. So he tried anything basically, and he was incredibly prolific in the time that he was working, and he didn't really have success early on in his career, even though he was making these movies very cheaply and with these great people. But once he hit his stride, then he was able to just go out and keep making these movies, get them into drive-ins, make money from them, and move on to the next one.
Did he have any impact on the mainstream entertainment business? Do people celebrate him, or is kind of seen like an Ed Wood type?
I don't know that there are anyone who would say my influence is Al Adamson.
I never heard that before.
But if you watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you will see that there's an entire subplot which I would argue is based on one of the stories that's in the documentary. So I don't know that for a fact, but it seems like that Quentin Tarantino is a big fan of Satan's Sadist, and he will have known all about them shooting at the Spahn Ranch and the fact that they threw Charles Manson off the set of The Female Bunch. So, take that as you will.
At the end of his career, or at the end of his life, he was struck with grief. He lost a very important person in his life, his girlfriend, and he started researching UFO and weird stuff like that. You think it was a coping mechanism for him, or?
I do. I don't really think he knew what to do after that. I mean, he'd stopped making movies at that point as Regina got sick because she had cancer, and he had a lot of other business interests as well. So he just started concentrating on those because the bottom had fallen out of the drive-in industry, so there wasn't really money to be made anymore. But yeah, once she was out of his life, he did become kind of a recluse. And when he got into this UFO project, which was Sam Sherman's idea, his producing partner, he really delved into it, got deep into the research, and which was something that he didn't really do on a lot of his films, where he did a lot of legwork on. He usually would just go out and start making the movie.
So he was looking for something, maybe.
He was definitely looking for something, and he started to believe. I mean, things happened during the course of making that film. You know, you'll see in the documentary that people talking about it, they don't want to talk too much about it. They sort of realize that, okay, I can't say as much, and it seems like that's what happened with the film, and that's why it never actually got finished.
You plan on releasing it at some point?
Well, it's a bunch of raw footage, so it's going to be tough. I mean, all I have at this point is a trailer and an early 25-minute cut. The trailer we will release with the Al Adamson box set, but as far as finishing the film is concerned, it's not out of the question. But I'd need to look at the footage to see if it's even finishable.
And like in one phrase, how can you summarize the life and death and career of that prolific artist?
In one
word. In few words. I'll give you a few words.
Well, I mean, I would say it was innovative, it was exciting, it was schlocky, and it was highly enjoyable. The stuff that he produced was definitely enjoyable. And I think all the people who we interviewed in the documentary would agree. I mean, they look back fondly, even though some of them were kind of ripped off by working with him, and they were exploited. But they look back kind of fondly on those days because they were really, just going for it. They were young and they just wanted to make movies.
People seem to enjoy his presence, his leadership.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. It was David Gregory, the director of Blood and Flesh, The Real Life and Ghastly Death of Al Adamson. Thank you for being with us.